apologize. We're having some problems with Dan Hesse's mic down in Washington, so we're going to turn it to our co-anchor right now. We are back with short seller and founder of Muddy Waters, Carson. Carson, you've been known to do a lot of investigative research into China. This might be an understatement, but I also understand a company based in London has caught your eye. Blinks. Tell us about it.
Well, this is a company that we were actually working on pretty seriously as a potential report. It doesn't look like we'll do a report because last week a Harvard professor preempted us. And the core thesis there was the financials, which look great, are actually sound as far as...
Hold on, what is Blinks? What do they do? Who are they?
So Blinks is online video ads. So basically they work through ad networks, and if you're an advertiser and you have online video ads, then Blinks is supposed to help you get eyeballs on those ads. Now, the issue with Blinks is that they could be engaging in something that people might call click fraud, where you have bots that are actually watching these ads instead of people. And so this was our core thesis that we were seeking to validate. And again, Harvard professor Ben Edelman posted this last week his research in which he concluded that Blinks likely is engaging in click fraud. So, look, there's not much for us to do, but we put on a short position quickly.
You didn't have the short on yet. So you were working on this thesis. Edelman comes out with his paper, and Muddy Waters' team says what?
We said, let's grab as much stock as we can quickly, and see if the market picks up on this. And it took about 48 hours, but the market did pick up on it, and the stock went from about 180 pence down to, I think, a low of a little bit below 90. It's rebounded somewhat, but
Has the company commented?
Very briefly, and it seemed like it was the usual ad hominem sort of attack on the person who posted the criticism.
So from your team's perspective, you do all this work, you're ready, you're set up, and then you get scooped, almost. Mm-hmm. Bad situation, or, hey, at least we thought we were on the right track, let's get what we can get and then move on?
Well, truthfully, this one, we're reasonably happy with the outcome because it's kind of riskless risk for us in that, every time we publish, we get into a back and forth, and, we risk being sued. So this is really somebody else's problem.
Edelman's problem.
Right, Edelman's problem if that results. And we didn't invest a lot of resources into the research yet. I mean, some of the projects that we do, will cost us close to $500,000 in research expenses.
Can you help us understand that? I know on your website you have an area, give us suggestions, give us ideas. How does it work? Like Blinks, for example, how did you even find this? It's not a company in China. We normally connect you to China.
Right. Well, we talk to investors, smart money investors all the time, meaning funds that will sell short. A couple of them actually discussed this with us.
You get paid? If I'm somebody who sends Muddy Waters an email that says, I got an idea, short film Mattingly, he sucks, do I get paid for it?
Absolutely not.
This is an option on your website, right? Like you actually have something you can click on the Muddy Waters website where if you have tips, you can send them in, correct?
Right.
How do those people get rewarded?
I mean, if they're short the stock and we write on it, I mean, we make it clear, especially when we're talking to large investors of the type that had discussed Blinks with us, we can't tell you if we're going to write a report. I mean, these guys are so much bigger than we are. They could grab all the borrow, and squeeze us out of the stock. So we make it clear it's a one-way conversation. So if you're short a stock, you have conviction in it, we'd love to hear about it, but we're not going to make it a two-way conversation.
Have you gotten any suggestions, recommendations through your website that have turned into an investment?
Well, not necessarily through the website, but phone calls. We get some interesting stuff on the website from time to time, but usually it's just one sentence.
I'm going to start spamming this website just every day.
People know what happens when your reports come out. Mm-hmm. The impact is immediate. So does that mean people are banging on your door, basically, and saying, hey, you should write on this company, and presumably take a position on it? Right.
That happened more in the early days. I think, we've gone to a format in the past couple of years where we're doing fewer reports per year. They're taking us longer. They're more resource intensive. So I think people are realizing that, if they want something with a quick turnaround rather than a real in-depth expose, they should go elsewhere.
How many people work for you? Like, help us understand the Muddy Waters infrastructure. When you started, I believe, just you, the muddy puddle. Like, where are we now?
Well, I started with a partner, but, we didn't anticipate the kind of exposure this would get, and he dropped out pretty early. But Right now, at full strength, we're 13, but we don't have everybody involved in every single project.
And then you hire consultants, you hire outside companies, lawyers, yes?
Oh yeah, we hire outside lawyers, we hire outside investigators. A lot of times we don't tell them that Muddy Waters is really the client because we don't want them to get cute and start front running, or we don't want that to affect the research that they feed us.
But you run the risk. You're going to spend $500,000 on an idea. You put out a report, and then everyone can just pile on. You spent the money. I read your report. I go short the company. Is there an argument to be made? You don't necessarily. How soon are you going short these companies before you're publishing your report?
Well, it depends on the stock. Obviously we don't like to trade into it, a year in advance of the report. But it really depends on the liquidity of the stock and what size position we're going to put on. And generally, we start trading in maybe a couple weeks before we release a report.
Do companies get any advance notice if you're about to drop a report? And also, kind of along those lines, what's the reaction behind the scene? We see that we talk to the company spokespeople when it happens, generally not very forthcoming on things. But what's the reaction behind the scenes? What are the phone calls you're getting? What are you hearing when you drop a report?
Well, it's actually, I think you guys would be surprised, it's a little anticlimactic after we push the button. We're not sitting, in the middle of a crowded trading room, so we push the button, we sit back.
And you just hide under your desk?
Sometimes I go right to sleep. Sinoforce was pretty surreal because we were in Asia when we put that out, and so...
Hold on, where were you?
I was in Hong Kong.
You were okay, just review with me. Right now, you can go to Hong Kong. Where can't you go in Asia?
Well, nobody's told me I'm not welcome there.
Okay, but pre-Sino-Forest, Carson Block was going anywhere he wanted. Sino-Forest, you hit the button, you're in Hong Kong, you go to bed, you wake up, and what happens?
Well, so we hit the button, it was about 2-something in the morning in Hong Kong, and I just started walking out of IFC, which is where we had our office, and 20 minutes later, or 20 minutes after we pushed the button, and we're in the lobby of IFC, just straggling through a group of really tired people. Our trader called, and he's like, I know it. I know it. I'm you know what? It's 20%. Oh, really? And I was so tired. We were so exhausted. Couldn't even get excited. Went back to my apartment. Kind of followed it online for a few minutes, and then went to sleep.
Did John Paulson ever call you?
I've never spoken with John Paulson personally.
Got it. All right, give us an update on NQ. NQ is the most recent name we've been talking about with you. When did you put it on? 5 months ago?
End of October.
End of October. Where are you now?
Ball is in PwC's court, really. We wrote a lengthy letter to PwC. We released that publicly a couple of weeks ago. And basically we're, that's PwC is the next backstop here. And, we're determined to see this through to the end.
We have to take a break, but just answer quick. Do you have confidence in PwC as an organization?
It's an auditor. It's a big four, so we'll see. I hope they can surprise me.
All right, I hope they can surprise me means you don't have confidence. We've spoken about it before. You don't necessarily believe in these auditors. So are you putting a lot of stock depending on guys that you don't necessarily trust?
Well, it's worked sometimes in the past, and then the China auditors seem to, circle the wagons and collectively stick their heads in the sand. So, we'll see how this turns out.
All right, Carson, stay with us. We're going to be back. And founder of Muddy Waters, not Carson Daly from TRL. We are back with Carson Block. And I want to talk to you about China. Obviously, when people think Carson Block, they think China. On a macro level, as you look at this country, as you look at the data we get out of China, do you just say, I cannot even believe people are investing there, I just don't trust the system?
Well, yeah,
that's Jim Chanos' line.
Right, and the first point there is the data. You can't really trust the data that comes out of China. So that's reasonably well established. You have collection problems, but I think you also have a government that really is knowingly not putting out real data. But China got interesting again last week because you have all these concerns about what they call the shadow banking system. So this lending that takes place outside of or off the bank's balance sheets. And there was a so-called wealth management product, which is really how the shadow banking system, how it's funded through these WMPs. And so you had a wealth management product that was a loan to coal miner for about 500 million US that was about to, it was supposed to mature, and there was no money to pay the principal. And so it looked like it was going to default, but the government bailed it out at the last minute.
Really? So when you look at China right now, do you say, how could one possibly even invest in it? You can't trust the government. If the government is bailing out this one entity, and you think there's $700 billion behind it, what could happen next?
Okay, so in